How's it going today, guys? My name is Splattercat, and I'm here with Pixabyte taking a look at Games Foundry's Folktale, an alpha that was currently published through Steam in the Greenlight program and has stirred up a little bit of interest, and so I figured we'll go through the game and take a look at what it has to offer. Now, at the moment, it's available for $20 through Steam, $19.99. However, the game is a tad bare bones, but it is an alpha, so bear that in mind. But all that's available through your purchase is a tutorial, but in purchasing your way into the tutorial, you'll get yourself the full copy of the game and all the updates as it goes along. So it's basically you're paying now to get in a little bit early, in fact very early, but we're going to play a bit of the tutorial and you can have a look at the game, and it's a very charming game actually. Artistically, I think the game has an amazing direction. So where we had started out, our villagers have just landed on an unnamed island, and so we have to get a village started. So the first thing we're going to do is create a windmill. And so I suppose I will click on this empty space right here, and I will click on windmill, and there it is, and you'll see all of my villagers are going to jump into action and take care of business.
In the meantime, why not place one or more wheat fields next to the windmill? The closer resources are to buildings, the less time villagers will spend transporting goods, and the more productive they can be.
And so as you can tell, the voiceovers are really well done. I was being a little bit quiet there so you could get a feel for it, but the voiceovers are very well done. Artistically, the game has decided on a direction, which I think is an amazing thing, and there seems to be a lot under the hood going on here. Now, from what I understand, Games Foundry was forced to make a little bit of a forced retreat, I guess. They had to make a little bit of a retreat in the face of their saving engine, and so you can't really save or do anything like that right now. And I'm actually going to skip through there because I've already done all this, but I can't show you how everything works. But as I was saying, apparently they ran into some major issues with development, and what I mean by that is that their save system wouldn't work with their old terrain system, and they're also retooling the game to be a sandbox. And so originally they were going to turn it into kind of a Warcraft 3 type campaign with Fable-esque graphics, so this game feels like Peter Molyneux designed it. If I had to say one person that this feels like, it feels a lot like a Fable game mixed with an RTS. But let's go ahead and assign some of our guys here. We can take one of our Gavin the Vile. I wonder how he earned that name. Probably doing something despicable, but let's send him over to the mill and he's going to learn how to be a farmer. We'll send one more person over. There we go. We'll send two guys to become farmers because as the game goes on, we are going to make some further kind of farms. There's there's cow farms, there's chicken farms, there's wheat farms, and these are going to provide the food at the top. Now, the systems don't seem to fully function right now, and what I've noticed is your villagers do go through the basic tasks of the day, but even after hours of playing, my resources have only gone up very slightly, and so I'm kind of wondering how that's working beneath the hood, but it's not something to worry about because right now you've got basically a demo for the game, so if you go in purchasing, just be aware of that. So, we've got our farmers ready to go, so they are getting ready with the wheat over here. We'll make one more wheat farm, just to say we did. There we go, and all of our unbusy guy, all of our lazy, our roustabout workers are just going to come running. I think we've got a female worker as well. That's another thing, is the females can't be assigned to any particular job, so they're just kind of wasted space at the moment. They kind of just stand around. I don't really see how they help anything as of yet because you can't assign them to jobs, but it is something that the developers have addressed and said that in the future they will actually have females able to do all the jobs that the male NPCs can do. It's just kind of a coding issue at the moment. Now, it wants us to build a woodcutter set, so we're going to jump in and do that. Now, I think the forest is right there, and this white flag right here means that we need to capture the forest first, or the lumber camp. So let's grab a couple peasants here, and we'll assign them to stand on the lumber camp, and then while they're doing that, we'll select this empty building plot, and I'm hoping in the final version you'll actually be able to place buildings wherever you want. Being confined to individual building plots is a little, it's a little constrictive for nowadays, but for the time being, we're going to build a woodcutter set there. And so hopefully these guys that I assigned, no, not you guys. You guys stay over here. You guys have a job.
My pleasure.
And you see, as they stand on this spot, they'll lower that flag there. It'll come back up with the insignia of our people, which is like, I don't know, it's like Dopey the Dwarf or something. I have no idea. And the rest of them will get to work building the woodcutter's hut. And so the game controls as you would expect an RTS to. The right click allows you to rotate the camera a little bit. The left click pretty much controls everything, which threw me for a loop for a while because I'm used to the standard controls of, say, like StarCraft, where you select somebody and then you right click them around. Instead, this is going to follow more of a command and conquer type motif where you click on somebody and then you left click to move them around. But it's a minor adjustment that I had to make. You can set up waypoints down here at the bottom. You can also put in flags, but a lot of this stuff isn't functional. And we already know about that. So let's take one of our peasants now. We'll assign them to the woodcutter's hut, and in he goes. And out he comes, and now he's looking a bit more rugged, he's got a bit more muscles, he's ready to chop down some trees, do some crazy Paul Bunyan stuff. And so we're going to run him over here to the wood camp, and he's going to do his thing. Now at this point we need to build ourselves an iron smelter so that we can get our hands on some more irony goodness and make instruments of stabbing and poking so that our enemies, when they come for us, they can't really get any purchase. And so let's go to this spot right here. This is what an iron mine looks like, and what we'll do is we'll drop a iron smelt on it. And I think, yeah, I had the woodcutter assigned right there. He gets kind of grumpy if you try and send him into a construction task, but other people should be sprinting out to handle this, I should hope. Well, in any case, hopefully somebody goes out there to handle the construction. Let's see if I can assign some people. Is this my advisor right here? Who is this? Okay, that's my advisor. I don't really know what purpose he serves. He just kind of stands around. Doesn't really do much. Just kind of throws his input every now and again. He's one of those types of people. He's in a village with a lot of chiefs and not a lot of Indians, so you know how it goes. And so as soon as this is up and ready, we'll do the same thing. We'll left-click a male villager, and we'll turn him into a miner. But let's get some more people up here. We're actually going to need several more. Now, your villagers do go about some sort of daily habit. I haven't really taken my time to watch them at the moment, but what I have noticed is that during the course of the day, they do frequent various locations. So if they're idle, they'll kind of wander around, come back, go into their houses. So if you ever have trouble finding your villagers, just rubber bandbox the house, and you'll probably grab at least a couple of them. At this point, we're going to get this construction finished off. Let's go ahead and make ourselves our singular miner. And there he is. He's now come out, and he's now a burly man with a pick, and we're being attacked by these little rat kobold guys. And so basically combat unfolds very much like you would expect it to in an RTS. Every single person gains XP, and so down at the bottom here you can take a look at this bar. This is their XP. As they level up, they get more HP, they get better stats and so forth. When enemies are killed, they drop a little bit of loot. This right here, the right side is their HP, the left side is going to be their MP if they're mages. Thus far I haven't had too much experience with mages. There's one in the storyline of the tutorial, and he's pretty funny, he's quite flamboyant. But we can loot all of these corpses, which is what we're going to do right now. They've given us a little bit of extra stone, and they've given us a little bit of extra gold. You can loot things by double-clicking. It took me a little while to figure that out. But now we've got to flip this mine over and under our control. The more peasants you have, the quicker it goes. And so now we have ourselves a mine. Another funny thing about the game is that they have put a tremendous amount of character into the game. For being a barely fleshed out alpha at the moment, there are a lot of things that just jump out at you and they just scream polish. So for example, for all the missing features, sometimes when you just keep your camera over a group of peasants, they'll have conversations about movies, pop culture, they'll make jokes about various aspects of the game. So the game does have a good head on its shoulder, and it's a game that I think is headed in a very good direction. Now, it's extremely primitive at the moment, but from what I can tell, most of the mechanics are working, and so I think if the developers can get a jump on it, you know, at Games Foundry, if they can get things rolling out, I think they've got a very good foundation for an amazing game. For those of you out there that enjoy things like, you know, Nomoria and things of that nature, I think it's something to keep an eye on. Now, over here on the left, they've said that villagers have arrived. This ship pulls up, and there they are, 3 more villagers. Now, they seem to get stuck here right now. They just kind of hang out over in that vicinity. But for now, we don't really need them anyways. So what we'll do is we will plop a, let's see, we've already got an iron smelter, so we're going to drop a Stonecutter's Lodge right here. And that should allow us to, yeah, that should allow us to get a stonecutter, which is kind of a steampunk looking guy. And you know, he's one of my favorite characters. He's a little humorous, although you don't get too much exposure with him, but hopefully we'll get into some of those storyline aspects before we run out of time here. As soon as this is up, we'll make a stonecutter and we'll move on forward. Alright, and then we will train one peasant to be a stonecutter. And there he is.
Something to be done?
And so he's kind of cool looking. I like the detail that they've put into all the characters, and here's a little skit that it's going to give you to kind of drive the story forward. So I'm going to be silent for a moment.
Oh, is that it, bruv? What did the big man say? Big man? He says he's been talking to them Weirfu monks who is like all the way up on the mountain, innit? Innit though? They is proper in the clouds. And they see all these like filthy human beings getting comfy on our turf. All building villages and thing, you get me, bruv? I hear you, man. So the big man reckons they is all our property and he'll get some wicked coin for them, innit? What's the plan? We go down there and they're all like, oh no, please don't make us into slaves. And we like take them back up to the big man. They got any protection, bruv? Nah, man, that's the best thing. They got nothing. Let's do this. I hear you, man. Let's do it. Listen up. He was all the property of the slave master Urzal. He is taking some of you to be his slaves. The rest of you better shut it, or he will take all of you. This is our village now. You get me, yeah?
Well, I guess we ain't alone on this island no more.
So what are we gonna do, lads?
Well, we can't just leave them to the goblins, can we, dear boy? We should go and rescue them.
But we're no soldiers and we ain't got no swords or nothing.
If we don't go and get them back, them goblins will be thinking we's all just here like turkeys waiting for Thanksgiving.
We need volunteers. Good, brave lads who can go on a rescue mission.
What about you, Bernard? After all, they did take your wife.
Well, I'm sure she'll be fine.
Well, I can't go. I've got, important buildings to make.
Shoot, I can't go. I've got important, logs to chop.
And I've got, important, holes to dig.
Hey, didn't they also take Jethro the farmer?
What?
They took Jethro. You know, the farmer.
But that means...
What?
That means that we can't grow wheat.
So?
If we can't grow wheat, then we can't make bread.
So?
If we can't make bread, then
What is it, man?
that means we can't have toast. That's it, boys. We're going to get Jethro.
Aren't you forgetting someone?
Oh yeah, let's get the wife too. Let's get tooled up. One of your buildings caught fire.
Alright, and so they have recently made our buildings on fire. They have basically turned us into a village a la flambe. But in any case, we need to get some things going so we can defend ourselves. So let's go ahead and build ourselves a barracks, and I'll give you a brief introduction to the combat systems of the game without too much spoiler relief, because as I said, this is all you get. So if I go too far into this, I'd pretty much be spoiling any reason you would buy into the alpha at the moment. So let's get that built, and then I'll show you how the militia works, and we'll take a look at the inventory system. We'll set out for a little bit of adventure, and we'll see how things go from there. It looks like the villagers didn't get stuck over there this time, so they've taken off. We can assign the females. From what I've heard, we can send them to the tavern, but I don't really know what effect that has on everything. And so our barracks should be up very, very shortly, at least hopefully. Now, the game has a very wicked sense of humor. If you're a fan of kind of Monty Python or anything along those lines, the game does have a very British sense of humor. So if you're looking for that dryness or that sort of humor that just is very, very witty, you're going to find it here. So I found myself laughing on numerous occasions through the tutorial, which is rare. There are very few games that can elicit a smirk out of me, but this one has done a pretty good job of remaining tongue-in-cheek while at the same time being functional. And so there goes our barracks. You can see some pips right here along the top of the barracks. They're kind of hard to see, and I apologize if you can't locate them, but there are little pips there. That's how many people we can assign to be soldiers. Now, I'm going to get rid of these female villagers here since they can't be warriors yet. And what I'll do is I'll send these guys in for training, and in they go, and they'll pop out with halberds and chainmail. And so there they are. And so now they're fully armed and loaded for bear. Now, every single one of the militiamen come with some abilities down here at the bottom, and I'm assuming that they're having a conversation over here. Let me walk away from the large group of civilians, and we'll send the rest of these peasants in for training. But as I was saying, each one of these guys has their own little set of abilities, but most of them aren't functional yet. Some of them are things such as keeping watch, accusing people of being guilty and taking them to the stocks, features that haven't been implemented yet. But what you can get from these tooltips is the sense that there are going to be a lot of concurrent, complicated systems that are going to be added onto the game. And when you overlay these systems, if I wanted to be grammatically accurate there, as we overlay these systems, you're going to end up with an increasingly dense and rich experience. Multiple characters in the game, including heroes, have abilities like these that haven't been implemented, but they kind of hint at what's on the horizon. And so we've got a few more soldiers here. I think that's going to be our full retinue. Yep, that's 5 out of 5. And so what we'll do is we'll take them over here, and let's go see if we can find ourselves a fight. Now, each character also has their own inventory. We can either, well, I think we just click down here, and we can't move the windows or anything around yet, but what we can do is hit the I key, and what'll happen is we can open up the inventory that we came with. We've got some tankards and some things of that nature. I don't really know what those are useful for, but we can put helmets on these guys, and it will adjust their stats a little bit. We've got a sword that we can assign to a knight, but we don't have him yet. Yes, there is indeed a manly knight, a Lancelot-type character who runs around rescuing damsels and so forth, doing all of those cliche things that make the rest of us look bad. And so let's go over to the bridge and we'll clear out some of these little rat guys. We'll see if we can pick ourselves a fight here.
At once.
And so the travel time is going to take a little bit. I apologize about that. There's not going to be a whole lot I can do to make that go quicker, unfortunately. We can't speed up the game or anything of that nature yet. But once again, all features that one would assume would be on the horizon. This game is in very, very early alpha, and I know that I sound like a broken record. I kind of keep explaining that, but I just don't want people to go into this with the wrong idea, expecting to get a full game. There are different definitions of alpha, and this one's definition of alpha is a playable tutorial. Now, from this mob, we've got an axe of evisceration, which I don't even know. Yeah, it doesn't have any stats assigned to it yet, so it's kind of just a placeholder. And we've got a short blade, which is also a placeholder, so there's no point even equipping those. We'll loot it all. We'll throw it all into our loot bags to say that we did, and then we'll head towards the pass over here. Now, as you explore the wilds, this is a feature that I really like. It goes from kind of this black and white noir type deal, and it actually is filled with color. And so that's a feature that I like. For whatever reason, artistically and aesthetically, I can really get behind that decision. I prefer it to the normal black fog of war that most games would use. I really like how the map fleshes out, becomes colored, and the enemies show up from that kind of gray filled in. So basically we can look anywhere on the map, but I just really like how it swaps from that grayscale back into color. Now over here we're getting into a bit of a fight with all these guys. One of our gents has leveled. They do get action points right now from leveling, but you can't assign them, unfortunately. So I'm assuming there's going to be actually a fair bit of customization in the game, even all of your citizens if we take a look. So if we go to their loot screen here, they've got all their statistics here: strength, agility, mind, and vitality. Well, if we go to any villager, this isn't just for our combat ready units. This is for anybody that has boots on the ground. So even if we go to our miner here, he can be assigned with equipment, he has a critical rate, he has a movement speed, he has action points that can be assigned, I guess, in the future. But it's really interesting how this is going to unfold. Because you can assign points to every single one of your villagers, it kind of begs the question what kind of customization is going to go into the game in the future. So as of right now, although lots of things are missing, those placeholders are kind of the guides that I'm using to get a feel for where this game might be going. We'll jump down here and we'll introduce ourselves to our flamboyant friend, and then from there we'll see what else there is to do. So there's a very robust storyline. I mean, if you want to get 2 hours or so of entertainment, you know, you can buy in right now, but I'd keep an eye on it. I'd definitely keep an eye on this one. I think it's probably going places. And his little question mark disappeared. There we go. We're jumping back in. Looks like we have some kind of ambush going on here.
What was that?
Oh, Hobbles! My beautiful Hobbles! They've stolen you away from me!
You all right, mate?
No, I am not all right. Those filthy goblins have stolen my Hobbles away from me. Oh, I can't stand the thought of their filthy, rough hands all over him. I feel faint. No!
Who are you? And what you doing out here in the middle of nowhere anyway?
I am Camphor Mageflower, and Lord Blackdark banished Hobbles and I for living an, alternative lifestyle.
What, for being,
No, silly! Hobbles is my familiar.
Oh, right, that's like a pet, is it?
More than a pet, we have a magical bond. Our minds and souls are intertwined in a beautiful, penetrating partnership. Lord Blackdark banned all wizards from having familiars. He thought it was creepy.
Sounds a bit overly familiar to me.
Well, yes. We were banished to this hellhole, and now my beautiful Hobbles has been taken from me. I must get him back, no matter what the cost. I can't do this on my own. I need some big, strong lads to help me.
Oh, well.
I heard the goblins talking about some settlers they'd kidnapped from a nearby village. They must be on the other side of this wall. Now, the first problem is how we break through these gates. I think this may be a bit much for even your rippling physique. So how do we get through? Let me think. Aha! Hobbles and I were looking for somewhere warm to snuggle up the other night, and we happened on an old golem. We could use that to bash through the gates. If I remember correctly, it was a McDongle Mark IV, so you'll need to insert a McDongle's gem of rebooting to reset its commands before it will obey you. Now, I've seen a gem of rebooting. Where was that? Ah, yes, the deserted monastery up on White Peak. Watch out for the monks, who found enlightenment by becoming werewolves and now practice were-thu. It's like Kung Fu, but hairier. Fetch the gem of rebooting, activate the golem, then bring it back here. Then we can use it to break down the doors and rescue Hobbles and the villagers. Hurrah!
Right you are, sir.
Alright, and so there it is. Now, this campaign does go on for quite a ways. There's several hours of entertainment here, but be aware that's all you get when you purchase in right now at this moment. So you will have to wait for further updates for further content. Now, the game is Folktale and it's being developed by Games Foundry, and at the risk of ruining any further storyline, that's about all I have to show at the moment. We've gone through the inventory system, we've looked at some of the bare bones systems that are in place, we've talked about what could be on the horizon for the game, and at the moment I think the game shows a lot of promise. From everything from the art direction to the sound effects to the voiceovers, I think that this indie developer has a good head on their shoulders, and I think they've got a pretty good idea where they want to go with this. Additionally, they've decided to run the game in a somewhat democratic fashion, and although in many cases that results in the creation of a camel, I think in this situation it's probably going to work out for the benefit of the game. In fact, they decided to completely retool the game from the ground up because their fans said that they wanted a sandbox game. This was originally just going to be a campaign multiplayer game very similar to Warcraft 3. Instead, they've decided to go back to the drawing board and turn it into kind of a sandbox Nomoria, Dwarf Fortress Light maybe experience, and I think that was a pretty brave thing to do. And so with the systems that are in place, I think they've definitely got a feel for the aesthetic, they've got the direction they want to take the game in, and I think it's worth supporting. It was something that I personally threw money at, and I would recommend that if you aren't ready for the alpha, just keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on it because Games Foundry is definitely doing a good job with this one. My name is Splattercat, and I'm here with Pixabyte today, talking about Folktale. Once again, the game is $19.99 on Steam, so definitely check it out if you're interested. Thanks for joining us here, and for all the best gameplay reviews, previews, and gameplay footage, feel free to join us here next time at Pixabyte. We'll see you there, and take care, everybody.